You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Headbands watching on repeat. The 80s and 90s can't be beat. So rhymes and butcher jaws. Let's blast the tape decks in our cars. 80s dreams and 90s haze. Let's recall back to our favorite days. Welcoming days.
Welcome back to the studio. Unless this is your first time, then I guess say it. Welcome to the studio. You're, of course, listening to Totally 80s and 90s Recall. If you're new to the show, get ready for an awesome ride revisiting the iconic music, blockbuster movies, and unforgettable pop culture moments of the decades we grew up in, the 80s and 90s. If you're a longtime listener and or subscriber, it is so great to have you back. I am one of your hosts, David, joined as always by my time-traveling co-host, the king of nostalgia. It is my good friend, Rob.
Yes, today's episode goes out to all of you out there who just want to dance with somebody. You know who you are. The clock strikes upon the hour and the sun begins to fade. Despite this, you know there is still enough time to figure out how to chase your blues away. You've been doing all right up until now, but it's that light of day that shows you how. And when the night falls, you know what happens. That's right. The loneliness calls. Now you've been in love and you've done lost your senses. As a result, you are just spinning through the town. You're out of control. What Dave and I can tell you is that sooner or later, the fever ends and you just wind up feeling down. What you need is a partner who will take the chance. And not just any chance. You need a partner that will take a chance on a love that burns hot enough to last. Nevertheless, when the night falls, your lonely heart calls. If you walk away from today's episode hearing nothing, at least hear this. Dave and I see you. We see you walking around repeatedly asking strangers, "Don't you want to dance?" and ordering them to dance saying, "Say you want to dance." It's a sad situation. But most of all, Dave and I know you want to dance with somebody. Dave and I know you want to feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, we know you want to dance with somebody, but you want to dance with somebody who loves you.
Is that true?
It's true. I think we all want that. That's what we all want.
So, Houston, we have a great opening.
Hey,
right, there you go.
Hey,
Nice
job.
Yeah, I like the heat with somebody.
Yeah, I want to
Feel the heat.
Yeah,
So,
these winter months.
yeah. Well, since you asked, I'm feeling great this week.
Oh yeah, you sound
Last
better.
week I was a little under the weather, had
Yeah,
a
you
little
sound-
bit of a frog in my throat.
Yeah.
This week
You look better.
the energy level is back.
Yeah, you
I feel like I'm here to give the listening public
what
my
they
full 100%.
what they come for.
Yeah, last week they got about 83. I don't know, 77. It wasn't a good. It was okay. It wasn't.
Well, and I think anytime I have to try to carry it,
Well, you had to anchor the show.
That's not good.
No, you did great.
No, it's
Yeah, we gotten some good feedback so far on
it's not good.
side 2. I think some people like side 2 better than side 1.
Of all the comments I saw, that's what I saw most. Is
Yeah.
people saying better side,
Better side.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the same thing I said on the podcast,
except for one.
the great song to lead off, much better
Oh,
than
yeah.
on the other side.
Yeah.
So
And then what was the one? Everybody said, what was there was quite a few people that said really good except for the one. Was it
Gloria.
Gloria.
Yeah.
It was Gloria.
I think there was a
She got-
good amount of Estefan. I think
Eight.
we're not the only
Eight.
ones in that. It amazes me how many records that she sold and
Yeah.
how many people
Love her.
awards and love
Yeah.
her. I don't know who the public is. I don't know who those people are then, but they're out there. So good for you, Estefan fans. But apparently they don't listen to us as much.
I don't know.
Maybe they're on the same side we are when it comes to Glory. But good feedback.
But I
for
didn't
that.
see anybody defending her though.
No.
So that's
So,
that's
but as
the
a
thing.
totality of your tape, looks
Yeah.
like it went really well.
No, it was good.
I saw a comment on X today. The guy was like, he took us. It took me right back to being
No.
12 years old. I mean,
No.
it was. So that's what we drive.
That's what we want.
Drive, whatever word we want to use.
Matter.
That's what we're going for.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I saw another shout out for the Z100 Zoo
Yeah.
situation. He said, although he wasn't from where we were from, he said it sounded
Sounds
almost
just like-
exactly
yeah.
the same Topeka, I think, or Wichita.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
a Kansas person.
Oh, look at that. We got
It's
some
in-
Kansas people.
We got people everywhere. So, and then my friend Dustin, who I went to school with, he posted a picture on our Facebook page. He has an old pair of Capizios, those like dress shoes,
Yeah.
and he had a bottle of Jacquard It was a great picture. It was so good. Like that is junior high. Like
Oh yeah, you can
encapsulated.
smell it.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah,
was
you-
perfect. So
When you say those things, people say you can't smell a picture.
yes.
And then you go,
So, well,
look at this.
look at this.
Oh.
So well, they can't look at it, but let's tell the people what they can listen to this week as the topic of our show.
I don't really know. Well,
Yes, you do.
I do kind of know.
I gave you a title.
You get 80s pop song.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yes,
you gave me a list of songs.
I did. Yes, 80s pop songs,
Yeah.
which we will get into in a moment.
Yeah, okay.
If you tuned into our last episode, we previewed that we'd be covering the 1980 comedy Caddyshack for this
Oh, yeah.
episode. However, we had to shuffle the schedule a little bit,
Yeah.
But that show still is going to happen just in 2 weeks.
That's all right.
So if you were here for that, don't worry. We're not skipping it. But instead, plus today, it's a plus. You get to listen to some awesome 80s music
Yeah, there you go.
instead. So
And it would be a plus too if we had somebody write in and go, I was really
looking forward to
looking forward to Caddyshack.
Like I'm not
Sorry.
listening anymore. You told me
Yeah,
Caddyshack.
That's it.
I showed up for that.
I scheduled my day.
You start talking about
Yeah.
80s songs, I got to go.
And then-
See ya. So, no, I promise it'll be worth it, especially if you're a big 80s fan. So,
Yeah.
now for today's episode, Rob,
Yeah.
since we're not doing Caddyshack,
Yeah.
you actually don't know the basis of the episode.
I don't.
I gave you a list of 80 songs. I told you to research.
You did.
And I gave you no other context.
That's it.
Which, by the way, once you look at it, it's quite an eclectic
It is.
group of songs.
I like
correct?
the songs. Great.
yeah.
It's a great list.
It is a good list.
And I tried as I was putting it together.
You haven't figured out yet what it is.
Where I have some ideas, but
I don't think you do.
I don't
we'll
think
see.
I don't think they're right because then some
Yeah.
songs don't match what I'm going. So I don't know.
Once I tell you, I think you'll.
All right.
I think you'll. Like as soon as I say it, as you were doing your research, you'll go, okay.
Yeah.
That starts. It'll start to come. It's pretty clear. So,
Yeah.
well, here we go. The big reveal.
Oh, okay.
The actual topic for today's episode. And now that I tell everyone, it might make more sense to you.
Okay.
These are 80s pop songs that never charted on the Billboard Hot 100.
Oh, okay. These are my guesses.
Yes.
Movies.
Okay.
Like maybe you were going down a soundtrack because
Gotcha.
a lot of these were movies, but then some of them weren't.
They weren't.
I even Googled it. Was this song? No, it's never in a movie. TV shows. Maybe TV shows. No. Music videos or like first on MTV. There was lots
Yeah.
of mention that some of these videos were like they were big
Mhm.
MTV covers, and then I put chart performance question mark.
There you go. You were
And
close.
I was thinking like either they charted or didn't chart or something. Oh,
Yeah.
so these
You're
never.
close.
And I actually put Glee,
All of these
the
songs.
TV show Glee, especially had its own bullet.
Wow, nice.
Because a lot of these were like
Yeah.
on season 5 of Glee.
Wow, you really. I'm not that kind of a Glee guy,
Yeah.
so
No, I'm not.
I'm excited that you thought I went down that road.
I didn't know if you were a
But,
Glee guy.
I did watch a little bit of
Okay.
Glee because my wife liked it, and
Yeah.
it kind of sucked me in a little bit. Wasn't my fault. So,
Okay, so these are they didn't chart.
songs that never charted on the Hot 100,
Wow.
which is like the major charts. So, well, we've talked about the Billboard charts many times on this show, but the Hot 100 in particular, as I just said, is kind of the gold
Yeah.
standard, particularly in the 80s, of how popular a song or singer or group were. Hitting the charts could be a really big deal and thrust an artist into fame and fortune. Now, the Hot 100 in the 80s was driven by radio airplay and album sales. Today, they also add in streaming to that
okay.
too. But
Okay.
back in the 80s, just radio airplay and album sales. So it was a great indicator of success for the studio and the artists themselves if they were
Okay.
selling a lot of records and they were from the radio. So
Yeah.
I stumbled upon a list online made up by Billboard itself of the 100 greatest songs never to hit the Hot 100. So I found a
Okay.
whole thing.
Yeah.
This list obviously had music from several decades. In fact, as far back as the 60s,
Okay.
and as recent as 2023.
Oh.
But what I did is I extracted the best 80 songs that they listed, and that's what we're going to explore
Okay.
today. So
Yeah, now I'm thinking about this list, and some of these, it's a tragedy that they didn't. They
it's-
should have.
Well, it's very interesting.
Sad that they
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of them I can't believe.
that they didn't.
And as we go through it, you'll be like, oh, but we'll look at the indicators and we'll try to figure out
Mhm.
why. There are some reasons why a couple of them didn't.
Okay.
And then other ones, it's just kind of I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, well, I was curious as to why, in general, a song that seems to be popular, because all these songs I remember hearing on the radio
Mhm.
or seeing on MTV. So these aren't obscure songs.
No, they're not.
They're very much around, like
Mhm.
you heard them. But they seem to be popular, but they didn't chart on the Hot 100. So I did a little digging around and found out some overall reasoning. Okay, this is general reasoning. This isn't
Right.
for all these songs,
Right.
but just general. First, the release format. Billboard only tracks songs released as physical singles.
Okay.
So if you don't release a song as a physical single, like if it's a song that's only on the album and it's not a standalone single, it's ineligible.
Okay.
So that can happen. Limited radio play. This is interesting because several of the songs we'll cover today, as I just mentioned, we heard a lot on our local radio. But remember, we grew up in Oregon. So maybe across the entirety of the U.S., some of these songs weren't as popular in other parts of the U.S. as what they played on our local radio station, right? So they could be regional. Some of the songs could be regional. Genre bias, big factor. Certain genres in the 80s were not played by the majority of top 40 radio stations, such as punk, metal, or alternative sounding music. And in the early 80s, rap and pure hip hop had trouble getting on some top 40 stations because it just wasn't a genre that they thought was going to relate to their fans. Right. Okay. So top 40 was, because top 40 was a lot of rock and roll or kind of the pure pop, which is like your Madonnas and things like that. Competition. I read a whole article about how the 80s was really considered one of the most highly competitive decades for release of music because a lot of big name artists were constantly dominating the charts. So it didn't leave a lot of room for smaller artists or indie bands or things like that to jump in. I got that. But then I look around and I see a song like Tarzan Boy. That's from an indie band and it's a random song and it made it onto the charts. So I don't know if that one's, I'm not saying it wasn't competitive. I'm just saying I feel like there was room. It's just depending, I guess, on your timing or whatever. So you never know. But finally, you have they call the timing of release and marketing and promotion. So some of these are on major labels, but some of these songs weren't on major labels. And some of them, their labels couldn't afford a lot of marketing and promotion. So they weren't getting the word out. And I look back in the 80s, there was a drive where you can kind of convince radio stations to play your songs if you're a certain, company and things like that. But some of them, they're so small that they just didn't have the bandwidth to do that. So if a radio station just didn't kind of organically find it or pick it up, it doesn't get played. So that could be part of that situation. So, but armed with all of that information, we're going to look back at some songs today, try to pin down how these couldn't have, at least for 1 week in their musical lives, how could these have not hit the Hot 100? All these songs, at least for 1 week. And we'll look at if some of the measuring markers that they told us affected these songs, which I think a couple of them do. But there are a few where I am still just kind of like, I can't believe this didn't get on the charts. So for 1 week, these songs weren't one of the best 100 songs in the country. And I went back and looked on charts of weeks songs like these that our songs we're going to talk about were out. Way worse songs at the bottom, like in the hundreds and 80s and 70s. Way worse songs. And some of these songs are straight iconic 80s
that's
songs.
what I mean. I'm shocked. I really am. On many of these, that these were.
You said many of these.
Yeah. And if they weren't top 100, they had to be like 102. No?
I saw a couple
really close.
But it
just fell out.
You could find some information on a couple of those, but for a lot of them, it just says, all it'll say is, did not make the Hot 100. That's it. So, and for them not to be one of the most 100 popular songs, still is a little crazy to me.
No, crazy town. So these are songs that never charted.
On the Hot 100. Correct. Which is like the chart for pop songs. And the category or the Billboard listing I found said 100 best pop songs to never. Some of these don't feel super poppy, but they've kind of classified them in that because as you go through some of the songs, they're not as poppy as the other ones. All right. Well, what made a song popular or not in the 80s? Well, how often it played on the radio or MTV had a lot to do with it. So we're headed back to the decade of big hair and IROC Z's to see why some pop music could not crack that pivotal Hot 100. That song made the Hot 100, though. So this week, we're working on it together, 14 songs. The first 11 are from that actual Billboard listing I mentioned at the beginning, with 3 other popular songs I found off the Billboard list, but still not hitting the Hot 100. By the way, if you're interested in seeing the 100 greatest songs Billboard listed, you can go online and Google it, and it'll come up. You can look at all 100 songs. You'll find it and be able to see all the choices, not just the 80 songs I've identified. So, well, the first 11 songs are in order as they appeared on the list. So, Rob, before we jump in, what did you think about all the songs?
I think had you have told me that these songs never charted on the Hot 100, I would have called you a liar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I like these songs, though.
All of them.
I really like this playlist.
There wasn't one you were...
There was like one or two that I'm not super familiar with.
Oh, really?
Or they're a little outside of my...
Really?
Yeah.
I would figure you would have known all these.
Well, I mean, I know of them. There's a couple that I couldn't have sang along to it, or
Oh,
yeah. So
I'm shocked.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to think of a couple of them, and I would have thought, I would have thought every single song you'd have been like, yep.
And then some of them I thought you were kind of making fun, like
why?
I don't know, like you were like, I was like, why would he have picked this song? I really struggled to figure out what your
my angle,
my line of thinking here.
So, well, I shared the songs with you, so I gave you every opportunity to figure it out.
I know, and I couldn't connect the dots. So
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
That's all right.
So, all right. Well, we're not going to wait any longer.
Yeah, let's get
We've tortured them enough. They're like, what are these songs? You keep saying, oh, it's a great playlist. Well, we'll let the people decide if it's a great playlist. So, well, I'm going to do the first 11 again in order as they were on that Billboard. So, of that Hot 100 song, of the best Hot 100 songs, it didn't hit the Hot 100. Coming in at number 91 on the top 100 songs. Very recognizable rock song from the early 80s.
Iconic.
Yeah. Shocking that it didn't make the Hot 100.
But after you gave the reasons, I can kind of think of why. Because it's a hard song to
Well, this one's interesting because
classify.
Maybe. Yeah.
I like this song.
I mean, everybody likes this song, right? Who doesn't like this song? This has become a huge part of like pop culture.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be from the 80s.
No.
By this time. So, all right. Well, this is Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood and the Destroyers.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this was at number 91 on their list of the 100 best songs. So this song was released in September of 1982 and is classified, you said it's hard to classify, but they classified as hard rock, blues rock, and boogie rock.
Boogie rock.
Why don't you share with us any info you have?
Well, I got that it was written by George Thorogood. But I read that a Chicago artist named Little Howlin' Wolf, he has claimed that he wrote it and Thorogood stole it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's considered a staple in classic rock. It's considered their best song, probably what they're most known for. He wrote it in a few months while the lyrics took longer to write. Thorogood said, if we don't write a song called Bad to the Bone, somebody else will, so it might as well be us.
That's true.
He asked Muddy Waters to do it, and then he asked Bo Diddley to do it. Both of them couldn't do it. It peaked at number 27 on the Billboard mainstream rock chart. The song was featured in 1983's Christine and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I don't remember when it was in that movie.
And Major Payne.
Oh, Major Payne.
Problem Child. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
John Ritter, little redheaded kid.
Yes. Major Payne. I've been known to kill a little rug.
Yeah. Well, Billboard puts down their reasoning for why maybe this didn't hit the Hot 100.
Okay.
So for all these songs, they kind of gave their analysis. So Billboard stated it had a big MTV video, by the way, pretty popular on MTV. It did. But as big as it was on MTV, which drove its visibility for the song, it didn't hit the 100. Billboard said because it may have been just too, and they wrote this. I didn't, so don't be mad at me. It may have just been too bad for top 40 radio stations that were too busy trying to play all the British synth pop in 1982.
No, that's true. I agree with that.
It says this song probably just had too much of a classic 70s rock sound, which was not super popular on top 40 radio
at the time.
At that point in time. So
there's that genre bias they talked about.
It could be.
Yeah.
So I did find, I found an interview with Thorogood in 2022. It's actually pretty interesting. So I wrote this down. He said to this interviewer, he wrote the song on the 50/50 tour. And by the way, this was the first ever original song written by George Thorogood. Okay. Everything he'd recorded before this was covers. Yep. Yeah. So they had a show in New Orleans, and before he went on stage, he met a nice man who said, I heard you're writing songs now, and if they're anything like that Bad to the Bone one I heard, you'll do all right. George said he asked the man how he knew about that, as he had only fooled around with it during sound checks and he'd never played it live. He said, "Oh, by the way, my name is David Geffen, and it's my job to know things like that." So George thought to himself after that, well, I've got Geffen's approval, so I should put this song on my next record.
There you go.
There you go.
Rest is history.
That's right.
And he laughed all the way to the bank.
Probably.
Probably.
Because this thing's been everywhere since it ever came out. So
the residuals are
through the roof.
He's doing all right.
Yeah. So George,
you hear it everywhere.
Good job.
Yeah.
So I like Geffen's. It's my job to know these things. I don't know if you know who I am, but there you go.
I'm sort of a big deal.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of Geffen records, but yeah. So I like that George didn't know who it was. He said a nice man.
Oh, this nice
so
guy.
Obviously no one knew what David Geffen actually looked like. So, all right. Well, that takes us to number 84 on the Billboard's list. This is an early 80s hip hop / electro jam.
The fun was about to begin. Crowds of people lined up inside and out, just for one reason, to rock the house. But in the daytime, the streets would.
This is one of the ones I didn't know.
You don't know this song?
I mean, I know of it, but
oh, it's great.
I like it.
It's so classic.
Yeah. I didn't really know much about it.
I think it was in the movie Breakin' or Breakin' 2 or Electric Boogaloo, one of the two.
I don't know.
Oh, this is a great song.
Freaks come out.
I like the way they rap. I like early 80s rap. It's not too complicated.
No.
And it's all got that same rhythm. I got a hip here. I'm going over there. I'm walking around and I just don't care. It's so good. So, all right. Well, this is Freaks Come Out at Night by Houdini.
Yeah.
Houdini, not spelled like the magician.
Like the Who.
Like who?
H-O. Or W-H-O.
With Dini on the end of it. Yes. So, song was released in...
Dini on it.
Yeah, song was released in 1984 and is the group's signature song. Hit the U.S. Hot Black Singles and U.S. Hot Dance / Club Play charts. The music video features Run DMC and future rapper and hip-hop mogul Jermaine Dupri, who was a dancer for Houdini during this time. Yeah. The song was developed as a way to make a song, the lead singer said, to be competitive with that Pat Benatar stuff that was out. That was his quote. So why didn't this song hit the Hot 100? Okay, because this seems like it would have been a pretty radio-friendly, it's got a catchy tune. Well, they said hip-hop in 84 wasn't huge yet, but a song like this, to me, seems no different than like Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell.
Yes.
That came out in late 83. That hit the charts.
Right.
But you never know. It was super popular, but this came out in 84. Billboard said it didn't hit the Hot 100 because it may have been a little too dark of a hip-hop song for top 40 radio. And plus, even Run DMC didn't break through until 1986.
Okay.
So
the rap scene wasn't... hadn't grown as much.
Not as much for top 40 yet. And you need the top 40 to get probably to the Hot 100.
Sure.
The basis of the song is what the group observed in the New York City disco club scene. They said after the sun would set, it became a community all unto itself.
Oh, yeah. So the freaks coming out
freaks
at night.
in New York City coming out at night.
I've never been to New York City, but I can imagine.
I have been to New York City, and I've been in Times Square at night.
Freaks.
And they're not wrong. So that's right. It can get a little gamey down there after hours. No. So, but I mean, there's good parts in New York. There was great parts we saw in New York. So we saw the building where they, the outside shot for Friends.
Oh, yes.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Down in Greenwich or whatever, Greenwich Village.
I don't know.
Well, you don't have to know. I was there. I know. So that's fine.
I trust
and the movie hound Kurt came and visited. We took him to the Statue of Liberty.
Oh.
And he loved it.
He did?
Yes.
That's good.
He went up and we tried to recreate the Ghostbusters 2.
They wouldn't let him in.
It wouldn't walk.
It wouldn't walk.
We played the music. Nothing happened. It just stood there.
It just stood there.
Didn't go anywhere. So
it's stupid.
All right. Well, that takes us to what they had for number 70 on the list. Okay. This is a 1984 song by
the Boss.
The Boss.
Yeah. I like this song.
You do like this song.
I do like this.
When I put this on the list, I knew for a fact, I'm like, oh, he's going to be.
I like it.
He's going to be happy. And he's going to be surprised I even put it on here.
That's what I mean. I thought you were being a jerk.
I'll talk about it in a minute. In 84, I just am shocked this wasn't on a countdown or the top 100 because he he could have sung, Paul, anything, and it would have gone on the radio.
Yeah, I know.
Little Miss Muffet. He could have sang Little Miss
Right?
Muffet. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, I know.
He could have sang anything he wanted in 1984, and it would have been on the radio. But apparently, this one didn't make it. So, although I did hear it on the radio. So this is Pink Cadillac by Bruce Springsteen. Now I'm going to let you do the background on this, but
Yeah.
I'm just going to say I wasn't making fun of it.
I know.
This is not my favorite song on this list. In fact, I don't think I've listened to this since 1984, but I think it's a little hokey, and
Yeah.
I'm not a big Boss fan anyway.
Yeah.
But I understand its relevance. It was popular. I heard it on the radio, so it not hitting the Hot 100 despite my not loving it doesn't mean it wasn't a thing in 1984.
Yeah.
So.
No, this was originally titled Love is a Dangerous Thing by the Bows, Bruce Springsteen. It was released as a non-album B-side of Dancing in the Dark, so that might attribute to why it didn't chart. I don't know.
Yeah, if it was a B, because what I saw also is it wasn't released as a single.
Yeah.
It was just a B-side.
Yeah.
So because they didn't release it as its own single,
It didn't.
according to what I saw, it's ineligible
Yeah.
for the Hot 100.
The auto imagery he uses was inspired by a 1954 Elvis Presley song. It was first recorded by Springsteen as an acoustic version in 82, and it was going to go on his Nebraska album, which is a great album, by the way.
I know.
The song is often compared to the Peter Gunn theme by Henry Mancini. And I put the Spy Hunter video game in the grocery store. Remember that? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. That was, they had it up at the grocery store of our house for many years. I love that game.
Nice.
Natalie Cole covered it in 87, became a top 10 single. Okay. These covers,
Yes.
I never attributed it to this song. I've heard the Pink Cadillac Springsteen song, but I did not.
Well, it's interesting you say that.
Because Natalie Cole covered it. Jerry Lee Lewis covered it, featured Springsteen. Bette Midler covered it.
Yep.
And it's been a staple of Melissa Etheridge's
first of all,
set lists.
I refuse.
So there you go.
I refuse to listen to those other ones.
I haven't listened to them. I didn't know they were. Well, Natalie Cole's the only one that I.
So I know that one.
Yeah, that's the one I.
So that went to number 5.
Yeah.
But it got released as a single.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I think that is a better version than what that he's doing.
Yeah.
So
There it is.
it's got more rhythm to it. It's got some. There's more in the background.
I never put the two together. I just assumed they had the same title.
But I like this version better. It's got more pep to it. It's got a beat.
Yeah.
Bruce's,
this.
the Boss's is real stripped down.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds a little more country rockish.
Yeah. It
That-
does sound like something that would have been on the Nebraska album.
Oh, okay.
It fits right in.
Because of the country rockish
And
element
super,
to
like,
it.
Stripped down and
Stripped down. So, okay. So the Boss, Pink Cadillac.
Yeah.
I will not listen to the Bette Midler and or Melissa Etheridge versions.
Why?
Because I don't want to listen to either one of those. There's a couple of Melissa Etheridge songs I don't mind.
Yeah.
The Come to My Window song is not terrible. I can live with it. It's just not the worst. And then I like the song because he sings it in Step Brothers. That's the song. One of those. That's a Melissa Etheridge song when he talking about people. Oh no, that's Bonnie Raitt. My bad. That's a Bonnie Raitt song.
That's Bonnie Raitt. That's
Talking about people.
like a mixture of Jesus and Fergie.
That's correct.
Yeah,
and then apparently that's Bonnie Raitt. So, we'll have our Bonnie Raitt episode one of these days.
So that's why it didn't chart. Because it was a B-side.
Because it was a B-side. Yeah. What did Billboard say? Billboard, that's pretty much because it was never released as a single. So
okay.
It was always just a B-side song. I find that interesting. Wouldn't the recording company say, look, 84, the Boss is killing it. Everything's great. Why don't we pull this thing off this B-side and release it as a single and just see what happens?
Right.
What's the worst that could have happened to it? It goes to 30 or it goes to like 50, but that's still better than going to nothing, right?
Yeah, because everything he touched charted.
In 84, he could have put out anything. Like I said, he could have, he could have sang the alphabet.
There were like 8.
And you're like, what? Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not?
The Birthday Song by
birthday
the Boss.
song by the Boss.
Yeah. Number 2.
Happy birthday. It's a little too serious there, Bruce. The producer in the studio, can you pull it back just a little bit? We don't want to scare the children. So
I can try.
In today's they do that cameo and you can like pay $100 and a star will send you. So that'd be what you get from Bruce. Happy birthday. Anyway, all right. So All right, that takes
All
us
right.
to number 62
Yep.
on their list. This is one of my favorites
This is really good.
from the list.
Yeah.
And let's see, one of my favorite 80s songs in general.
Mm.
I'm a little slow here on getting my
No,
timestamp
you're good.
together.
You're fine.
So everyone's going to have to be waiting with
They
baby's
can all
breath
just.
on what song we'll play next.
We don't know.
So, but it's an awesome song.
Oh,
So 80s.
It is.
So beautiful. I love it.
these guys were everywhere in the 80s. They kind of owned the 80s when it came to this.
I almost feel like if someone was like, what did the 80s sound like? Giving them Duran Duran or giving them like Tears for Fears. You're like, listen
you go.
to these two. That's kind of what the 80s was.
Dun, dun, dun.
At least from a pop element. Oh, this is so good.
And I'm looking at my notes and I'm trying to figure out why this
Yeah, we'll go over
didn't
it.
chart. But... No.
Oh, I could listen to that song all day.
It's really good.
So good. So, all right. Well, this is Girls on Film by Duran Duran, released in 1981 and was the band's first top 10 hit in the UK. It hit top 20 in several other countries and went number 1 in Portugal.
That's what I
So
had.
Good
Yeah,
for you
number one
guys.
in Portugal.
The song did not hit any chart in the United States until 1999 when it shot up to number 24 on the Billboard Dance Club Play Songs chart. And I could not figure out why. It didn't come out in a movie. It wasn't re-released. It just all of a sudden somebody found it and started, I don't know, playing it.
Weird.
Obviously, it hit a radio station somewhere,
Yeah.
but it started going nuts. As of October 2023, Girls on Film is the 5th most streamed Duran Duran song in the UK, in case you were wondering.
Nice.
I didn't get the other 4. We'll do
That's
that
all
on another day. The music video made them popular in the United States when it hit MTV. So although it had to be highly censored, the video had
it
a
did
lot
have
of
that.
female nudity in it.
Yes.
That's what's shown in the original unedited cut.
Yeah.
The uncensored version was available at the time in nightclubs and on the Playboy channel.
I do have that.
The song is about the exploitation of fashion models who had to deal with dehumanizing shoots where they were objectified by the masses. Isn't part of being a model
I was just gonna
somewhat
say,
being ogled over? This should say more like they were being probably like sexually harassed or something, but I understand the point. So,
Don't look at me.
well, MTV, I'm reading the MTV book, and this is in there too. They talk about this, but they feel like they're almost directly responsible for Duran Duran's popularity in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
The video was made before MTV even existed, but in 1981 when MTV launched, they didn't have very many videos, so they got a hold of this one, got it into rotation after they edited it, and it instantly made Duran Duran stars in the United States. So many bands looked at the high-budget style of Girls on Film as to how videos were going to become huge and shape popularity. Groups like ZZ Top, the Rolling Stones, and Van Halen embraced the concept that Duran Duran illustrated. So, if all that greatness is happening, why did it never hit the charts, despite having MTV popularity and all this stuff?
It was a single.
It was released.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that. So, well, the reality is, once the song became popular on MTV, the song was 2 years old. So it had already been out for 2 years, and the band was now promoting singles for their Smash album Rio, so they weren't doing a lot of work on this one. And it wasn't released as a single in the United States. It was released as a single in the UK, went top 10, but in the United States, they never released it as a standalone single. So Girls on Film did win a Grammy for Best Short Form Music Video in 1984. Why 3 years later? Because that was the first year that award was presented. So I guess they were just gathering up old videos
Right.
and seeing who got it the most. So
I did have here that it was originally demoed in 79.
True. Yeah.
So okay. So
What I'm shocked about, though, is Rio took off. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Again, why wouldn't the studio go back and go, let's post-release this single?
re-release it.
Because folks are eating up all the Duran Duran stuff.
Yeah.
And this could go crazy. So,
People did all the time, or they would re-release it.
well, and MTV didn't exist when they made the video.
Yeah.
So the group said that when they made the video, it was meant just for nightclubs. MTV wasn't a thing, so they weren't thinking it would end up anywhere. And then, of course, MTV didn't have any videos when they first started, so someone got them a copy of this,
Yeah.
and they're like, man, throw it on. Because when they first started, all they had was like Rod Stewart and a couple other weird ones, and they're like, we can't play Rod Stewart 90 times a day.
And the Buggles.
And the Buggles.
Or whatever they had.
Well, and if you saw their stable of early ones, they said they had like 7 Rod Stewart videos. I'm like, just keep playing Rod Stewart. He was quick. He just dropped them off. He probably dropped them off himself. Take these. These are good songs. So
Maybe that's why you don't like Rod Stewart. Too much.
yeah, too much.
Too
Well,
much. Anyway.
I don't like all his songs.
Yeah.
I have a onesie twosie that I can deal with Rod Stewart. But again, that Forever Young song is a torture upon its own.
It's a classic.
So, classic's a weird word. You're saying classic. I say I don't think that word thinks what you think it means, right? So we're gonna go all Princess Bride on you here. So, all right. So the number 55 song on the list,
55.
another early 80s hip hop rap song. Is this one you knew?
I did know this one, yeah.
Bass. Vision, dreams of passion.
Again, I love early 80s because they really do just talk.
All the while I think of you.
I think of you. I walk over here and I drive my car. Like, you can just say whatever you want.
The more I see, the more I do.
This is good. Ooh,
Baby.
that's something like a phenomenon.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure LL took that little sample.
Oh, I have that in my notes.
He said, I have it in my notes.
I do.
Well, why don't you share your notes
All
with
right.
us then?
So this is White Lines. Parentheticals. Don't do it.
Don't
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
American hip hop recording artist Melly Mel, released in '83.
Well, actually, Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mo, but you can explain to us how that works.
Yeah, the song warns against the dangers of cocaine addiction and drug smuggling. It's considered Melly Mel's signature track. When originally released, it was credited to Grandmaster and Melly Mel. Some international issues carried the credit Grandmaster Flash the other way. Like
Whoa.
it did,
The research I
Grandmaster Flash.
got, Grandmaster
Melly.
Flash actually had nothing to do with the song.
Yeah, so by the time this was released, Grandmaster Flash had already stopped touring with Mel and was suing Sugar Hill Records for back royalties.
Correct.
The animosity between the two artists continued so they at this
Well,
time
they
were
Yeah.
gonzo. They were
But
done.
what they said
Split
was he had nothing to do with the song, but he had spun it at a concert he was doing. And in the early 80s, they said DJs were more popular than rappers.
Mhm.
So they attributed his name to it just so it could sell.
The song peaked at number 47 on the Billboard Hot Black Singles charts in '83. Originally, it was intended to be an ironic celebration of the cocaine-fueled party lifestyle, but it was abridged with the "Don't Do It" message as a concession for the commercial people, saying, "Hey, let's not promote the drug taking lifestyle."
Let's not promote the drug everyone's taking in the 80s.
Right.
Yes.
And that's a good segue. So then there's a line in there that I'd never. It says a businessman is caught with 24 kilos. He's out on bail and out of jail, and that's the way it goes. And they're referring to John DeLorean.
I like that. Yeah,
He's gotten into some trouble.
I got that.
An unofficial music video was directed by Spike Lee, who at the time was a New York University film student, and it starred a young Lawrence Fishburne.
This was prior to Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Much prior, yeah.
When he was Cowboy. All our 80s fans are going to hate us right now.
Oh, what is it? Yeah. That's going to
Cowboy something.
Yeah. Let's see. Pusha T did a remake. And then Duran Duran, funny enough, released a cover version.
They did.
Yeah. And I tried to listen to it. It's not good. I couldn't get into it. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Definitely a little different.
It's way different.
It's like a dance club version.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see this in a dance club.
But this did well.
Yeah. It did better than
The original.
Yeah.
Definitely a little different.
Yep.
The other one sounds a little more organic
Yeah.
and like hip hop ish. That's
Yeah.
definitely a pop.
And the
version.
Pusha T version was made for the movie Cocaine Bear, which I never saw.
Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
Cowboy Curtis.
Cowboy Curtis.
There he
Check
goes.
it. That was it.
We've been saved by the internet.
Man.
Kip came in my ear real quick. Cowboy Curtis.
Yeah. Cowboy Curtis.
That's right. Yeah.
He whispered.
I'm not going to take credit for knowing that off the top of my head. So all of our 80s fans out there, they're going to say, oh, what happened?
So why didn't this chart?
Right in this chart. Well, according to Billboard, it says that I have to look for it. The song did very well in the UK, by the way.
Oh.
17 weeks in the top 40 in the UK and was the 13th best-selling single for all of 84. So
In the UK.
In the UK.
Okay.
So that tells me that the people in the UK must have had a better appetite for early 80s rap than American audiences, right?
And cocaine.
And well,
I don't know.
They definitely had no problem with cocaine. So I like you said earlier about they had to change this to make it a message not to use cocaine. And as I was reading that, I was like, thanks, Nancy Reagan. That's all her fault, right?
Just say no.
All right. So the Billboard says, unfortunately, rap in general, songs about drugs and songs about the griminess of New York were not popular for top 40 radio across the country. So
People weren't ready for that yet.
Yeah. I think in 83, 84, they're not quite ready. Now, I'll bet you around New York and stuff this got played on those stations. Yeah. But a top 40 station in Indiana, probably not getting this song, right? So, unfortunately,
the Hoosiers weren't.
I'm not saying they're closed-minded. I'm just saying
Melly Mel and Grandmaster Flash.
Top 40 station is like Madonna or Grandmaster Flash. I think we know. Yeah. I think we know what we chose.
John Cougar, little John Cougar.
Well, and this didn't get a lot of run on MTV either, so it's another version where you want to get, because MTV wasn't playing rap. Because reading my book again.
He does read, folks.
MTV was. Oh, I do. I like reading. I love it. But MTV was pretty notorious in the early 80s for not playing a lot of non-rock music.
Oh, sure.
And or they were just basically saying they weren't playing black music whatsoever.
No,
they were accused of that quite many times. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, even when Michael Jackson broke through, they told him first that he had to put out "Beat It" because Eddie Van Halen's playing guitar on it, so it had a rock element, because they said they were a rock and roll station.
Pull in the listeners.
Yeah. So they gave him they gave him a "Beat It," the company, and they said that play it. It turned out it was Billie Jean, and then they told them they weren't going to play it. And CBS Records, I believe it's CBS Records, basically told them, if you don't play that video, I'm going to pull every artist we own off of MTV. And so they played the video, and then it blew up, and everything worked out good.
And then MTV goes, that was our idea.
But in this case, they wouldn't have played this because it didn't have any kind of rock element to it, and Michael Jackson was just breaking through.
Right.
Because really, if you go back to that time, what were the black artists on MTV? Michael Jackson, Prince.
True.
I mean, other than that, you might catch Whitney a little as the 80s started to go on, maybe some Shaka Khan, Tina Turner.
Tina Turner. Yeah.
We forgot about Tina.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that takes us to the number 51 song on their list. This is a cool punk blues song that, in my opinion, has only gotten better over the years and is actually one of my favorite songs on this whole playlist.
Yeah, good song.
Oh, it's so good.
Yep, love it. I saw these guys play at Red Rock. And they play like the drummers got a barbecue.
Yeah. Well, they're weird.
And their instruments are weird, and they have a horn section. They're called like the Horns of Death or something.
Oh, nice. They're weird guys. Which may be why they didn't make it onto the radio. This is such a good song. Even if they're a little weird, a song like this should have probably been.
Or is it Horns of Chaos or something like that? It's some kind of crazy name like that. Anyway.
All right, so this is Blister in the Sun by the Violent Femmes.
Yeah.
Released off of their self-titled debut album in 1983. It was later released as a promo single in 1997 after its use in the movie Grosse Point Blank. Great movie.
I need to rewatch
And that's where I know the song from the most. I don't know that I'd heard it before I watched Grosse Point Blank. It didn't chart anywhere that I could find it. I looked all over in the U.S. or abroad. Although it's certified silver in the U.K., selling over 200,000 units. But I couldn't see it didn't chart in the U.K. So how they got it over there, good for them. Maybe they did a concert and sold them outside the stadium. But 200,000 is quite a bit. So the reason it never hit in the U.S. Hot 100, according to Billboard, is the Femmes weren't quite ready for prime time, and neither was their label. This comes back to the marketing and promotion. The label was eventually acquired by Warner, but at the time, it only specialized in local punk acts, and the album barely made the Billboard 200 chart. Such a small label didn't have the capital or ability to get the album or song out widely to radio stations.
Yeah.
Plus, in 1983, with Michael Jackson and other pop acts ruling the airwaves, this probably didn't have the appeal nationwide as other bands, and it might have been a little too indie for Middle America.
I was gonna say, it's too independent.
Well, I will say, that might be the point. The stance could be it's a little too indie for Middle America's taste. But is that true? Because I look around on the chart at the same exact time. So here's some songs that were on the chart. I just don't think this song got the exposure because the label was too small as these other non-super pop songs, because these weren't real big pop songs. Some of these were indie songs, and they're real popular on the Hot 100. Pass the Dutchie, however you want to say that.
Yeah.
That's not a conventional pop song.
No.
It's kind of a reggae element,
Yeah,
and
that
it
was-
made it on there. She's a Beauty by the Tubes. That's a punk band,
Mm-hmm.
and that got on the radio. And Our House,
Oh, yeah.
that's a punk song, and
Yeah.
it made it pretty high on the Hot 100. So
Yeah.
these were different from normal cookie cutter pop songs. So there was room for the Violent Femmes. Also, bands like Culture Club, and then the Clash had a song on the charts. That's a complete indie punk
Yeah.
band. So there was appetite in the audience.
Yeah.
I just think maybe they didn't get
They
promoted
didn't-
enough.
They didn't have the backing that.
That has to be what it
Yeah.
was. Because if someone like the Clash can get onto the Hot 100, there's no reason this song
Right.
could have got. Because when you first
Agreed.
hear it, you would go, "Oh, this sounds like a college radio song."
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Little.
Our House and those were kind of indie
Yeah.
songs like that too.
Agreed.
And the Talking Heads, Devo, they were hanging around on the
Mhm.
on the Hot 100.
Mhm.
So there was room. Just for some reason, Violent Femmes couldn't quite break through.
Just wasn't their time.
Maybe
Wasn't
because
their
they were
time.
playing drums on a barbecue.
That's right.
Maybe they decided that wasn't it. So, and they never did videos either. That was their other thing.
Yeah.
So not getting a video on MTV probably didn't help
Because
either.
that was cool.
To what? Get on MTV?
No, to be all
To be all non?
indie and
Yeah.
the
I would just say
opposite
if you were
of
in the
MTV.
80s and you wanted to get somewhere, you might have wanted got
on
might have-
on MTV.
you might have wanted to get a video on MTV.
Yeah, that's where it was at.
Just once Martha Quinn go, "Hey, Violent Femmes, blister in the sun." Just once. Even if it was 2 a.m. I don't know if she worked at 2 a.m.
I don't know.
I wonder how
Martha
they
Quinn,
decided that.
yeah.
Oh, I love Martha Quinn.
She was fun.
She was great.
Yeah, she's good.
My book, Martha Quinn, she's quite the party lady.
No.
She looks all mild mannered,
Oh no.
like the sweet thing.
She's a tiger cat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a thing in there about there was some of these rock stars in the early 80s. They would come and they'd be like, "Hey, I'd like to meet Martha Quinn." There was like a whole thing about wanting to meet her. I was like, okay, y'all are crazy. So
Blister
all
in
right.
the Sun, great song.
Blister
Yeah, I
in the
know
Sun.
it from
Fantastic.
Grosse Point Blank, which
Grosse
I'm
Point
going to go rewatch.
Oh God, that movie's so
I haven't
good.
seen it in a long time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. That'll make it onto our podcast. All right, so number 47, Billboard's list.
Ooh, 47.
I probably I thought I understood why this didn't make the Hot 100, but I added it because it should have made the Hot 100 for sure.
So don't try to sing this some
Not-
science. Well,
yeah.
I drop in English, even if yella makes it a cappella. I still express, I don't smoke weed or cess. Cause it's known to give a brother brain damage. And brain damage on
Good
the
song.
mic don't manage
I love it.
nothing. But making a
I-
song
I-
get
but I wore this
equal.
tape out, so.
Don't be another sequel.
Didn't we have you were at the bus stop?
Yeah.
With your NWA
Yeah.
tape. I got mine from I forget who I get it from. I got it from somebody's brother. He copied it for me, so I didn't
Yeah.
have the actual tape because my mom would have found it.
Oh, no. My dad would have found me with this.
So it was a blank tape,
So mad.
and I just put rap on it.
Yeah.
I wrote rap
I
so
just knew what it looked like.
that it was disguised.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my mom would have been like,
Oh,
"What?"
yeah.
So,
What is this?
so what is this, Rob?
This is Express Yourself by American hip hop group NWA, but it's just done by Dr. Dre. He's the main guy.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's the main performer. It was released in '89. The song is off their '88 album, Straight Outta Compton. Unlike most songs on the album and by NWA, this song is devoid of profanity and violence, which I thought was really cool. The song's lyrics focus on the concept of free expression and the constraints placed on rappers by radio censorship, and disses other rappers for producing radio-friendly songs for mass appeal. So then we make a radio-friendly song. for
That's
mass
correct.
appeal. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I was a little surprised this didn't get on the Hot 100 because there's no profanity in it.
Yeah.
And another
That's
element I saw it said it actually speaks negatively about drugs.
Yeah. So
And
you'd
that was
think
the
it would
only
hit
song
all,
ever.
it would hit all the marks for a great top 100 song.
And in 1989, rap's on the radio now.
Right.
It's not like a crazy thing.
The only thing I can think of, well, then the music video features a then unknown Warren G. And it's
Yeah.
been featured on a lot of video games. And Rammstein, the band, the metal band Rammstein, actually uses their samples their intro in one of their songs.
I like it.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is it's because it's NWA. They just
Yeah.
had a reputation.
I
and
guess.
the-
Yeah. Well, also, it went to number 50 in the UK, showing again. So it did chart in the UK, showing again that they seem to embrace American rap and hip hop in the mainstream quicker than we did.
Mm-hmm.
Song samples the 1971 hit by Charles Wright and the Watts 103 Street Rhythm Band. That's a terrible band name. It's way too long. But the name of that song was Express Yourself.
Yeah.
So in an interview, though, Wright of Charles Wright's big, long band name, said, I do not like NWA's version, calling the song redundant. We already made that song.
Oh.
Like, it's not the same song. They used
they
use
used-
is the chorus.
Yeah.
The whole rest of the song's different. I listened to it. So Charles Wright.
I don't think he listened to the song.
Charles Wright, I think, is a hater at this point. So not exactly sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
I saw this a lot on MTV Raps. That's
Yeah.
why I remember it so much. And of course, I listened to the tape quite a bit. So Billboard's take on why this never hit the Hot 100. Even at its most crossover friendly, which is what this song is, NWA's Reality Kickin' was still probably a little too raw for the American mainstream of the late 80s. And they cite particularly in middle America.
Yeah.
Just going, hey, NWA. And to be fair, in certain states around the United States, once the song F the Police came out, they're not going to tolerate a lot. A lot of those stations aren't going to play anything from them.
Kind of blacklisted a little bit.
Yeah, that song kind of will, although I'm fine with that song, for certain areas in the country, that top 40 radio station is not going to play that song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
Nope.
So, but yeah, Express Yourself, NWA.
Good song.
I think it's a great song. I
Great
can't believe
song.
looking around again at like, okay, Fresh Prince, right? So he had Parents Just Don't Understand. Good
Yeah.
song. Then he had Nightmare on My Street.
Yeah.
That's not a great rap song, but that made the Hot 100. So, but what are you going to do? So, Nightmare on My
know.
Street's not so hot.
Just goes to
right?
what the listeners wanted at the time, I guess.
Okay, well, we are on to their number 43 ranked song, and I got to be honest with you, it blows my mind that this song was not on the Hot 100. I would have thought this was on the radio everywhere, because I distinctly remember, I don't remember not hearing this
I know.
in the 1980s, and I've heard it in everything, or maybe my brain doesn't work. I don't know anymore, but I heard this song, and I feel like it was on MTV
It was an
constantly,
80s.
too.
It's an 80s staple.
Feels
I
like
know.
it. It just feels like an 80s song that I heard all the time. If you would have asked me about the song, I'd have been like, probably hit like 5, 3. Oh no, it never charted. How is that possible? This is another song. It just kind of encompasses the 80s.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I
Shocked.
flummoxed.
Yeah. Flummoxed.
Is that a word I can
It
use?
is a word.
It's a word. I saw that today.
You
And I thought, how can I get that in?
Flummoxed.
Flummoxed.
I don't even know how to spell
I
flummoxed.
saw it on the side of a building. All right.
You did.
I did not. This is Dancing with
People
Myself.
are tagging words on
Really random words that like you would study for an
Yes.
SAT.
Onomatopoeia.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
I
Okay.
don't know.
Well, this is Dancing with Myself by Billy Idol. This was released originally in 1980 by the band Gen X. Interesting. When the band broke up, it was released again by Gen X's frontman, Billy Idol, who was now a solo artist, as a single for him after it was remixed. This song just missed the Hot 100. You talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
It was number 102 on the bubbling
Yeah.
under 100
Yep.
chart. But I can't believe it didn't. Come
No.
on. What are we talking about here? But it did go to number 9 in New Zealand, hit number 27 on the U.S. Hot Dance Club Play chart. Those charts were a little more liberal, I guess. The video made for the newly started MTV was directed by Toby Hooper, best known Rob for directing
I don't know.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
I feel like that's exactly the guy I want doing my music video. What have you done previously? Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Perfect.
You're the guy.
That's what I'm looking
That's
for. This song was a hit in the United States, despite limited radio airplay on top 40 radio stations, and launched Billy's career in the U.S.
Mhm.
Billboard's take on why it didn't hit the Hot 100 was still maybe a little too punk for pop
Yeah.
audiences who didn't fully embrace Idol on his more synthed up Rebel Yell until 1984.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, I don't get punk out of this song. This just sounds like a straight radio pop 80s song to me, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know what punk is.
Well, I'd say back to the last song. You know, I don't know that Middle America wasn't ready for NWA.
Yes.
They weren't ready for Billy Idol.
For this?
You know,
How is
spikes
this-
and you know.
But in 81, how is this
Mohawks.
different than Cars was out by Gary
Yeah.
Newman? I mean, this is not different than that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you
You had songs like Turning Japanese and stuff. I mean, but this couldn't
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah.
So, well, the song has been mistaken to be about masturbation. And Billy gave an interview about it. Billy said, and Billy's confused, I believe. Billy says it's
Really?
literally about dancing with yourself. He saw Japanese kids
That's what I got.
at a Tokyo disco dancing with themselves in a nightclub. They would dance pogo style there, and they would stare at themselves in the mirror so they could watch themselves dancing. And after he said all that, Billy then concedes, there probably is some sort of masturbatory element to the song. But you just said it was. Anyway, although Dancing With Myself was not a commercial hit, it has endured as one of Billy's most popular songs played at all of his concerts.
Absolutely. 2 songs ago, Blister in the Sun. They talked about that too. That was it about masturbation?
Was it about?
He says it's about drugs.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't know.
If you ever go into that guy, you find it. There was a long version of what that song's about.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, there's no 3 paragraphs. Just tell me what the song's about. It went on for it's so like profound.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're moving up this chart now. We jump up quite a bit, so we get to number 15.
Ooh,
an English synth pop band.
This is one of the ones that I didn't know much about.
Are you serious?
I've heard it, but I didn't know much about it.
Well, you know a lot about it now, right?
I know a little bit more about it.
A little bit more?
Yeah, I couldn't find a lot about it.
I will now that I will concede. There
Yeah.
was quite a bit. I'm just having again.
That's all right.
I haven't been on the 1s and 2s in a while. It's been like a month since I've been able to do this. This is so good.
I know it's good. I like it, and I guess
That synthesizer is.
I don't want to
all 80s.
Yeah,
Just hear the guy in the background. Boop, 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 boop.
it almost sounds like a parody of an 80s.
It's so good. Oh, it's a good dance. It's a great dance song.
I have to tell you, I don't know that I would have been able to tell you it was Depeche Mode.
It is.
I don't think I would have been able to tell you that.
Nice.
Prior to this.
So Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche Mode, right?
Yeah.
I was watching on YouTube the other night. I found this old show they did on VH1. It was called I Love the 80s. And they were interviewing, they were doing a segment on Bartles and James.
Yeah.
And how this ties in is they interviewed Lisa Loeb.
Okay.
Remember Lisa Loeb?
I do.
And she was talking about Bartles and James from the 80s. She was in like school and stuff. And she said one night she was out with her friends and they were drinking Bartles and James, listening to Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go.
Lisa
Comes
Loeb
full
ties
circle.
it back. So
Lisa Loeb drinking.
Yeah.
Lisa Loeb
Lisa
drinking
Loeb
Bartles and
drinking.
James.
Yes. So, all right. Well, why don't you tell us about this song?
So this is, I don't have a lot. So
No,
this
not a
is
lot.
Just Can't Get Enough. It's by the mega electronic music band Depeche Mode, released September of 81. It was their first single to be released in the U.S. It was released in the U.K.
Correct.
September of 81, sorry. Released in the United States February of 82. I got that it was featured in The Wedding Singer. That's where
It was in The Wedding Singer.
That's what I remember it from, but
also used in Gap commercials.
see, I didn't know that.
Also landed on the TV shows Friends, Gossip Girl, and American Horror Story.
Oh.
So it's been a few places.
Yeah.
So I put on here, I said, Brit synth pop was on the rise in the early 80s. And this is just as catchy as any of those songs that were around. According to lead vocalist Dave Gahan, this song was written as the punk scene was winding down and London club kids were looking for music to dance to that wasn't too aggressive.
So why is it because of how was it that because it was released in the UK?
I don't think so. Well, okay. So with its popularity around the world and the rise of Britpop in America, how did this song not find its way on the Hot 100? So Billboard assesses that the song may have been a year too early to really catch the wave of early MTV, which is what made a lot of the Brit synth pop bands popular. It made Depeche Mode very popular later in the 80s, but they say they're a little too early. But it released in 1980. It had a video, so I just don't know if it didn't get to MTV or what, but some exposure on MTV probably would have taken. Because remember, for their assessment, I looked at the chart and they said they were a little too early.
Yeah.
But in 1980, Blondie's on the Hot 100.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Brit synth pop, but it's new wave stuff.
Yeah.
The Police, Devo, and the Knack are all on the chart that year.
Yeah.
That's all Brit stuff. So it seemed like there was lots of room. I don't know why it just didn't get the radio exposure, because there was a single it put out eventually over in the US. They got a single out. For some reason, it just didn't catch radio stations the same as some of the other Brit bands. So
just can't get enough.
Just can't get enough. Well, apparently they got enough because it didn't make it onto the Hot 100.
People had enough.
So that should have been on the Hot 100 as easy as anything else. So.
I agree.
All right. Our number 6 song. Number 6 on their countdown.
So this is the highest one so far.
This is the highest one so far. And I'm going to let you, we're going to listen to it. I'm going to let you introduce it to it because this is a song I think in the 80s only cool people would listen to, right?
I like this song a lot.
So good.
Such a good sound.
I would say one of the most, earlier we had Bad to the Bone. And I would say Bad to the Bone has one of the most iconic guitar riff intros from the 80s. This is probably right there with it. This is
killer song.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, if I was growing up in the 80s, like a true 80s kid, I'm a Smiths fan.
Yeah. You were too young for the Smiths.
It was before me.
This is really a late high school into college song.
Yeah.
Like if you went to a dude's room and he was listening to this, you're like, bro. Like this is a song you listen to and girls are like, oh, you listen to the Smiths. Oh, it's really good though.
Shut your mouth.
Oh. Oh, so good.
It's a really good song.
Well, I'm going to hand this one off to you because I know you probably have something for it.
I do. So this is How Soon Is Now by the English rock band The Smiths, written by singer Morrissey and guitarist Johnny Marr, released in 1984. It contains only one verse, which is repeated twice, plus a chorus and a bridge. The subject is an individual who cannot find a way to overcome his crippling shyness to find a partner. In 2007, guitarist Johnny Marr said, "How Soon Is Now is possibly the Smiths' most enduring record. It's most people's favorite, I think," he says. A cover of the song by a band called Love Spit Love. I don't know who they are.
What is that?
Love Spit Love. It's a band.
It is a band.
It was used in the movie, the 1996 movie The Craft.
Yes.
For all the craft.
This is Love Spit Love's version.
It's dumb.
It's pretty much the same song, but I think they speed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think they add a little more instrumental in the background. There's more back there than the other one.
Yeah.
But the singer's pretty close, if you hear it. They definitely have more instruments. See, he's pretty close.
It's pretty close. Basically, kind of a scene for scene remake.
But I think if you listen to it side by side, this is a little quicker, too.
Yeah, Smith's.
Well, the Smiths is better.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. The band recalls the session of making the song as being accompanied by heavy cannabis use. Quote, "We used to smoke dope from when we got out of bed to when we got back to bed," recalls one of the band members, to which another one concurred, "You're from Manchester. You smoke weed till it comes out of your ears." In 2002, it was included in the list, The Story of NME, which is like a review entertainment magazine. In 70 mostly seminal songs, which I thought was a really stupid list. It's mostly seminal. And it came in at number 24.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well,
I read somewhere that people said that this song is it's a little misleading because it sounds very different than the rest of the Smith stuff.
Yes.
So if you're like, ooh, this is really what I want to listen to, and you find it's not indicative of what they really sounded like.
And I'll be honest, the first time I ever heard this song was on The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
When Linda's in the yard and he comes home drunk, this is the song that's playing when he kissed my grits.
That's right.
Yes. Also, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I didn't hear it. And maybe I was just not listening to you.
True.
Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time.
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
Pitchfork's 200 best songs of the 80s.
Yeah.
Blender's 500 greatest songs since you were born.
Mm-hmm.
And Rolling Stone's 101 greatest guitar songs.
Yeah.
Billboard's assessment on why this did not chart. Why this did not hit the Hot 100. Because this feels like it could have been on there.
It's too weird.
Here is what they said. They said, it's too long. It's too abstract. It's too British for top 40 radio in the United States.
It's too abstract.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they said. They said there might not have been, but too
artsy for the top.
But it doesn't sound artsy. It's got a good guitar rhythm to it and everything.
Killer.
I think it would have led in pretty well, but I could see it being maybe just a little too indie again for old middle America there. So what was that? We have an earthquake.
I hit my mic stand.
It was an earthquake.
Got excited.
I heard the whole place shake. Boom.
So,
all right. Well, that takes us to the last song I have from the 80s on this Billboard list. And it was actually the number one song on their list of the 100 songs that never hit the Hot 100. And I have to say, if my mind wasn't blown on any of the other songs, my mind is completely blown that this was never on the Hot 100.
I know.
Through my research, this song is number 1 and number 2 in the entire world.
Yeah.
It's like 30 countries or something.
Where did I put in my notes? It was by the end of the 80s, Into the Groove was honored by Billboard magazine as the dance single of the decade.
That's what I'm talking about.
But it never made the list.
Never made the Hot 100. Explain that one.
I do. And you know why on this one. I'm sure you.
I think
you
I
did.
think
I have a reason why.
So this is Into the Groove by Madonna, obviously. Like I said, this blows my mind. I feel like I heard this song on the radio and MTV every day. Released in 1985, featured on the Desperately Seeking Susan soundtrack. Warner Brothers did not give Into the Groove an official release in the U.S., making it ineligible to enter the Billboard Hot 100, and was only released as a B-side. So much like Pink Cadillac, for some reason, why would you have not released this as a single? What is Warner Brothers doing? Despite not making the U.S. Hot 100, it went number 1 in 12 countries, and it went to number 1 on the U.S. Billboard Dance Singles Chart and Dance Singles Sales Chart. Also, top 5 hit in 6 other countries. Man, just look around and go, what's going on around the world? Hey, can we go ahead and cut that as a single now?
We'll make our money back.
Who's in the promotion department over at Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
You are fired. Into the Groove named the best dance single of the 80s. Let's see. The song has been included in the 1001 Songs You Must Hear Before You Die, and on the Rock Song Index's 7,500 most important songs for the rock and roll era. In the UK, Into the Groove was the 3rd best-selling single of 1985, behind only The Power of Love by Jennifer Rush and I Know Him So Well by Elaine Paige and Barbara Dixon. I don't know that song. No idea what that is. And I don't know how it ended up behind it. Must be more British. Madonna told Rolling Stone she is not a good judge of what things are going to be huge or not. She added that with this song, she felt stupid singing it, but everybody seemed to like it. In the UK, Madonna was placed at the top of the list of the top 10 female-selling acts in British music chart history, with Into the Groove being her best-selling single of all time. Billboard stated the reason it didn't hit the U.S. Hot 100 is because it was relegated to a B-side single, whereas in the UK, it was an A-side single, and it went to number 1. So...
went to number 1.
Probably why we didn't, And going to number 1, Into the Groove from Madonna. You got anything else for us?
In 2012, a writer for The Guardian stated, had there ever been a hotter summons to the dance floor than Into the Groove? It was the soundtrack to her first and last great cinema moment. But yeah, that's a great question.
Well, I haven't seen.
Is there anything?
I'll be honest. I never watched Desperately Seeking.
I haven't seen it.
So I can't say. Yeah. So, all right. Well, those were the 11 songs from the 80s I pulled off of that Billboard Hot 100 list. I've got 3 others. We can go over them pretty quickly, but these were. I got down a rabbit hole and I found these 3 songs that I couldn't believe weren't on the Billboard list. 1, but 2, they're just great songs, and I couldn't believe they didn't make it onto the charts once again. So we're going to start out with a song from a pretty popular movie in 1985.
Please don't drive 88.
Drive 88.
Don't wanna be late again. So take me away.
You called it a pretty popular movie?
A couple people watched it.
It was the top grossing film of 1985.
That's all.
So,
It's pretty popular. A couple people saw it.
Back in time.
All right. So obviously, Back in Time by Huey Lewis and the News. Why don't you take us through this one, Rob?
This is Huey Lewis, released July of 1985. This plays over the end credits of Back to the Future, the top grossing film of 1985. One key watching watcher, keen watcher stated it was also in a 3rd place in the movie on the radio alarm clock that woke up Marty right before the end, just before he found out that his entire family had changed for the better.
That's right.
There's this big long story that let's see. The story goes that Huey Lewis was approached to write a theme song for the film. He met with the film's production team, who intended that the band be Marty McFly's favorite band.
Oh, yeah.
Though flattered, Lewis did not want to participate because he did not know how to write film songs and did not want to write one called Back to the Future. Zemeckis assured Lewis he could write any song he wanted. Lewis agreed to submit the next song he wrote, which was The Power of Love. Everybody knows that one. The lyrics did not make any mention of the film's storyline. Lewis was asked by Zemeckis to write one more song for the film, which came back to Back in Time. Unlike The Power of Love, the lyrics for Back in Time centered around the movie's story points. In an interview that he talks about, he actually liked writing.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't want to write movies for songs. I thought it was kind of dumb.
Well, and I saw that.
Now he likes it.
So The Power of Love was released before the film came out.
Mm.
It was promoted pretty heavily and it went to number 1. Back in Time was released as a single, but not till a couple months after the film was already out.
Yes.
They pulled it off the soundtrack, released it as a single, but that time it didn't get the promotion. And a lot of people, they thought, well, they'd already bought the soundtrack, so they weren't going to also go buy the single. So that may have affected the sales of it, which could have kept it off of the Hot 100. But it's a tragedy because I looked at the Billboard Hot 100 in July and August. There was a mess out there at the bottom of that. So Back in Time was a lot better than most of what I saw on that list. So Back in Time is obviously a very popular song from the 80s. So despite not hitting the Hot 100, I would say it's very recognizable. Just shocking that, how they not, that could have been a top 5 song.
Yeah, easy.
And so how they didn't promote it and get it up there feels like a loss by the company.
Re-release
on that one.
Or something.
You suck again to that company, right? So that takes us to the next song I found. Great song. Probably.
This is probably my favorite on the list.
If not my favorite song from this group, top 2.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs on this list today.
Yeah, it's really good.
Got my spine, I've got my orange crush. Color me, don't color me. I've got my spine, I've got my orange crush. We are agents of the free. I've had my
Maybe it's a little early for REM yet.
Yeah.
They're still a little collegey rock.
Yeah,
This is a really good song.
I'm not familiar with this album. I mean, I don't know that
You might have to do
I'm going to give it a spin.
You might have to do some work on that. So it's Orange Crush by REM. Released December of 1988. Went to number 1 on the U.S. alternative and U.S. mainstream rock charts. But since it wasn't commercially released as a single, just as a promotional single, it never made its way out of the Hot 100 because I bet the studio regretted that after it went number 1 and 2 on 2 other charts.
Yeah.
So they probably screwed up. I was wondering why studios release songs as promotional. So I did a little background check. Basically boils down to confidence in the music. They want to garner interest to build hype in future songs or an album, and they're not sure how the song will perform, so they release it as a promotional to test the waters and gauge interest in the music.
I read where you talked about one of the charts. It topped the mainstream and modern rock tracks.
Yes.
Where at the time it had the record for the longest stay at number 1 with 8 weeks. It beat U2.
Beat out U2.
So,
Boy,
wow.
Bono was mad that day.
The record
he probably took it out on Edge.
It beat out U2.
The song's video also won an MTV Video Music Award, and it was all black and white video, and the band does not appear in it at all.
Oh, yeah,
So,
I did read that.
do you think if it had been given a commercial release, it would have been popular enough to get on top 40 radio?
Yes.
You think so?
I do.
I think so.
I do. Yeah.
It's got all the elements in 1988 that sounds like it could be on the radio.
Yep.
Some earlier REM was a little more indie sounding, but by then it's starting to polish. That could be a radio. That's a radio song. It's just a matter of getting it there.
Where he talks about Michael Stipe talks about it being about the Vietnam War, and then Peter Buck, the guitarist, goes, "I must have played this song on stage about 300 times, and I still don't know what the F it's about."
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's a little internal debate on what the song's about.
Well, as long as they're enjoying it and having fun. So, all right. Well, our last song of the day comes from great 90s band, but they were actually around a long time in the 80s. They just didn't really get their big break until the 90s, and this is a cover. One of our only covers today.
A great cover.
Really good. All right, so this is. Why don't you take us through this one,
Oh,
right?
yeah, this is Higher Ground, written by Stevie Wonder, originally in 1973, but covered by the Red Hot Chili Peppers for their 1989 album, Mother's Milk.
Yes.
It has been featured in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, one of my favorites.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Beavis and Butthead, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Walking Tall, The Longest Yard, The Karate Kid, the new one, Guitar Hero Live, and The Ultimate Fighter. In 2000, British magazine Total Guitar named it the second greatest cover ever. Red Hot Chili Peppers performed the song with other musicians as part of their All-Star Jam during that when they were inducted to the 2012 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Nice.
The music video for the version was directed by Drew, these two people, and was nominated for a Breakthrough Video in the 1990 MTV Video Music Award.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I've got that the
higher ground.
I've got that the Stevie Wonder version hit number 4 in the US Hot 100 in 73. It's listed on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. The Chili Peppers version obviously didn't hit the Hot 100. A British magazine named Total Guitar named it the second greatest cover of all time in 2000. Looking around, it seems to me kind of like Orange Crush from REM. It may have been released as a promotional because online it shows it was a US cassette single and a 7-inch single, but as a 12-inch, which is what typically the radio stations would play, it was a promo single. So maybe that's why I didn't get into the radio stations as much. So it may have had an effect on it. This song, along with Knock Me Down, are credited as the Chili Peppers' first 2 hits that helped them achieve mainstream success.
Star status.
Lead singer Anthony Kiedis joked that the reason they covered this song was because it was between this song and covering New Kids on the Block's Hangin' Tough. This is what they chose.
I want to hear that version.
I found another magazine online called Paste. I'm not familiar, but it's a magazine. It ranked it the 100 best cover. It ranked the 100 best covers of all time, and it had this at number 71. The writer said he believed anything Stevie Wonder sang or wrote was uncoverable, but Flea's awesome bass line and Kiedis' charismatic lead vocal led to a triumph that will only happen once in a lifetime.
Oh, okay.
So, and just so we can be fair, so this is the Stevie Wonder version.
Yeah.
All right. So it comes in with kind of a piano synth.
Yeah, his little.
Yeah. Kind of a keyboard.
Yeah. I read that he wrote and recorded the song in a 3-hour burst of creativity.
Much funkier too, by the way. Really good, by the way. Really good. So that's Stevie Wonder's coming in. And then now the opening for Higher Ground has been named as one of the best bass openings to a song. Flea is the bassist. Yeah. It says it's been many magazine stuff has said it's one of the best opening bass lines to a song of all time.
There it is. Yeah.
So he replaced the keyboard with a bass. And then, of course, they're thrashing it up with some more.
I do like it. I like it a lot. I like it. I like it a
they're
lot.
definitely different. The Stevie Wonder is a standalone. It's a great song. But as far as covers go, this is a really good cover. So, all right. So that takes us to the end. We got through all 14 of our songs.
That was a really good list.
That never hit the Hot 100.
Yeah.
What do we think?
I'm still what was the word used? Flummoxed.
Flummoxed.
I'm flummoxed.
Well, if you're looking for other F words, flabbergasted is good.
Oh, that's a good one. I can use that.
Yeah, you can use that one too. You feel free. I'll toss it out. You can toss it right back. Whatever you want to do with it.
Whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah. Whatever makes you happy.
That was a good list. I liked it. Yeah. Shocked that some of those never even
didn't even get a shot.
Yeah. Well, I think that then it speaks to the industry too, or as people are creating content, always trying to figure out what are people into and what are they going to like, and sometimes you get it right, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, it's just when I hear a song like Orange Crush, or I hear some of these other songs, or Higher Ground, or the How Soon Is Now by the Smiths, and think about what was on the radio. It's interesting.
Even like when you hear the Smiths song,
yes,
the minute it opens, I mean, even us, when you listen to it and you go, "Oh my gosh!"
So
like there's a visceral feeling you get. You can't tell me that the record producers didn't go, "Holy crap! Yeah, let's get that on vinyl."
I would think so,
cow.
Right?
Like,
but
get it now.
It's just what
and we're not record people.
No,
we're not music people. We don't have a trained ear for that. We're like, "Oh, that is good. Whatever that is, make more of that."
And look, I'm not here to compare and contrast, but that came out in '88. In 88, we're in peak hair band mode. I love hair bands. Yeah. I love that music. But you can't tell me you listened to an opening riff from a Poison song and then listen to that Smith song and went, "Oh, Poison's better."
Oh, yeah. Right.
So, but they appealed more to the masses. Yeah. They appealed to girls. They appealed to younger listeners that are going to, the Smiths were probably mercurial. They didn't make videos. Yeah. They were another one of those groups. We're not going to make a video. Yeah. That's too artsy for us. We're not here to make movies.
Mercurial.
That's
a good word.
Yeah. I'm on fire today.
Man, you are.
I've been reading my thesaurus. I got a thesaurus for Christmas. So I've just been thumbing through it. Just looking for
like
words.
a word of the day.
Yeah. So I think there's a toilet paper you can get where, you get a word each day and you take it out in the world. Mercurial, flummoxed, pedantic. Just
Stop.
anything you can come up with
Stop.
that is a silly word, right? There.
Stop.
Kumquat. I don't know if that's a word of the day. Anyway, so great list of songs.
Yeah, I love it. It was good.
A little shocking. There were some reasons why from time to time, but I still get shocked that at one point you have to figure out the song sounds pretty popular. It's getting on the radio anyway, so why don't we cut it as a single and get it out there? I feel like money was there to be made, but they didn't make it. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not like the company didn't make enough off Madonna anyway.
That's true.
But why not, add a little extra? And it's one of her most popular songs of all time now, even though it didn't chart whatsoever. So, All right, fans. Well, if you'd like to support the show, you can start by listening each week. That's the simplest way to do it. And then you can share each episode with a friend that loves the 80s and 90s and would like totally enjoy going back in time for a little while each week and just reliving all the greatness that was those 2 decades. Also, reach out to us on any of the social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, and X. We love hearing from the fans, and you can let us know what you think of current episodes, pitch ideas for future shows, or just in general, tell Rob and I how great we are. We can never hear that enough. We also have a YouTube channel, so if you're interested in seeing the recorded version of this podcast, it's something else, and I promise we are not as scary as we sound. You'll be fine. So come on over.
Let's get nostalgic, shall we? The Total 80s and 90s Recall team wants to remind you that the Totally 80s and 90s Recall podcast is the perfect complement to your listening experience and the perfect antidote to modern life. Now, you may, in fact, be a Toys R Us kid, but you need to grow up and visit Totally 80s and 90s Recall at podbean.com, and we will have you saying, I could have had a V8 in no time. Have ideas for future episodes or comments about previous shows, hit the rewind button and email your 80s and 90s flashbacks to 80s90srecall@gmail.com. Let the Totally 80s and 90s Recall team help you find the best way to appreciate the present by occasionally indulging in a healthy dose of the good old days.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, finally, if you enjoyed hanging out in the studio with us today, whether it's your first time or you've been here lots of times before and it feels like home, you can drive our visibility by giving us a 5-star rating if you think we've done a great job. And a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to us would be fantastic. We like to read all of the great feedback. And if you really love the show, let us know, as literally our favorite thing is receiving feedback and comments. I really do look forward to it every week. Anything we get on email, we get Facebook, I love going through all the comments and then having correspondence with the fans. And then we get to talk and, have that good rapport back and forth.
Rapport. That's another good word.
Every word today, Rob. So, all right. Well, you may be bad to the bone, but just like those freaks out at night, Rob and I just can't get enough. So unfortunately, it will be enough this week as we've reached the end of this episode. We hope you enjoyed taking a look back in time at some popular 80s pop songs that just couldn't quite find their way onto the Hot 100 chart. If you like today's musical choices and want to experience the songs in full, we have provided links to Spotify, Apple, and Amazon playlists in the show notes so you can jam out to these tracks and get that great 80s feeling all over again, because this is a good playlist. You got lots of good songs in there, lots of kind of genres. We got pop, we got some hip hop, we got some rap. We got whatever the Smiths and R.E.M. are, alternative, I guess, if you want to call it that, right? So
Mercurial.
Yeah. Mercurial. Make sure you get the R in there.
There's an R. Oh,
there is. Mercurial.
Mercurial.
Finally, a big shout out to you, our awesome listeners. Awesome? Why am I sounding it out that way? Let's try that again. Rewind. Finally, a big shout out to you, our awesome listeners, whether you're tuning in for the first time or you're a longtime subscriber. We can't thank you enough for hanging out with us this week. We hope we've given you a fun hour or so of laughs and memories. And don't forget, you can catch all new episodes of Totally 80s and 90s Recall every Tuesday. What do I need to be ready to do next time? Next time, we're still staying with the Billboard.
Hey!
And we're going to go over songs that were on the Hot 100. We're going back 30 years since it's 2025. We're going back to 1995.
Gosh, we haven't played around with 95.
We have not very much.
No.
So we're going to look at the Hot 100 for the week of January 28th when that episode will premiere.
Yeah.
And we're going to go over what the best 100 songs were and pick out what we think that group is.
Oh, okay.
And I've already taken a quick check of that.
Do we know, do I get even odds, top 50, bottom 50?
Pretty sure I'm even. Pretty sure you're odd.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear this because I don't know how much you're going to love this. This in 95, you're in a little bit of different headspace. You're getting a little older. And so I don't know if you're as radio-centric You're listening to more stuff that you go buy at the store and things.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna find some of the pop songs. You're gonna be like,
I don't know.
but you'll be fine. You'll find.
Well, I'll pick the best.
You'll find the ones.
I'll pick the best of.
You'll
the
find
worst.
the ones. The best.
Yeah.
It's not the worst. There's some good ones on there. I think you'll find some good ones.
All
So
right.
I have already perused it,
Okay.
and I found quite a few that I think are quality songs.
Okay.
So
All right. I trust you.
But I will tell you of all of our Billboard Hot 100s, and I encourage anyone who wants to look it up, go look up this Hot 100 for January 28th, 1995. I would say of all the billboards we've done previously where we go back and look at a Hot 100, this might not have the 100 best songs, but in 95, I was listening to music a little different too.
Yeah.
So tastes are changing, styles are changing, and maybe the way we listen to music's a little different than it was when we were in the younger years.
Oh, that's fair.
When we loved the Z100s.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you got anything else?
I got nothing else.
Are you sure?
I am positive.
Fancy goodbye?
No fancy.
No fancy goodbye.
Ooh, yeah. This song is awesome.
Awesome. That's spelled with a U now. My mouth didn't work on that one. Just, I couldn't form the letters. So I felt like a dog eating peanut butter.
What are you gonna?
There's just nothing I can do about it.